A wise soul once told me,
watch OnePunch Man
Okay, cool.
in big boy captions.
so that's what I did. I watched OnePunch Man with big boy captions.
私が私であるために Break out without me よ昨日までの私じゃいられない
Hey guys, it is Waiting Spy, and welcome to today's episode of Anime Review. Today, we're reviewing an internationally iconic and beloved anime, One Punch Man. I hold Saitama and his bald head very close to my heart, as this anime has gotten a few of my former weeb friends back into anime, and it's so easy to see why. Before we start the review, let's go over the review system again, but let's make it quick. 5 categories: plot, characters, openings, animation, and enjoyability. Each one ranked out of 10. Add scores together to get a total score of 50. Score requirements here. Making a tier list of all ranked anime. These animes are not ranked solely by how much I personally like them, and I try to remain completely unbiased in my ranking. As you can see, the tier list is looking rather empty at the moment, but that's okay. We'll add more soon enough. Before we dip our toes into the wonderful waters of One Punch Man, turns out only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you're not already and you don't hate me by the end of the video, then I ask that you press the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds and it helps me out a lot. And now, without further ado, let's get into the stuff you all came here to see. Let's get started with the plot. Despite the many good things I've heard about the story and the manga currently, we're just talking about the anime today. I can't give One Punch Man any higher than a 6 because, and let's be honest here, season 1 was kinda lacking in plot. Actually, let's bump it up to a 7 because the lack of plot actually works really well with this show. In season 1, it was a very simple anime. Each episode, some big threat would show up, funny things would happen, and Saitama would ultimately defeat the threat in, well, one punch. He is One Punch Man after all. It completely flips the shonen trope of training to surpass your enemies on its head by taking it to an extreme. Saitama did 100 sit-ups, push-ups, and squats and ran 10 kilometers every day for 3 years. He trained so hard that he went bald and ended up with his godlike power. This is obviously supposed to be unrealistic. If this was how fighting anime normally worked, Asta would be the strongest character in all of anime. Saitama, even without superpowers, could very well best the vast majority of other characters in combat. And it depresses him. He's just searching for another opponent to fight who can match his skill so he can feel alive again. And season 1 is just a load of him searching without results. Even in his fight against Boros, Saitama is said to be holding back, which makes sense. Boros is the strongest foe that Saitama has vanquished thus far, and he was able to survive Saitama's weakest punches. That in itself is special, so Saitama just wanted to enjoy himself for a while. Although Saitama won uninjured, Boros was strong enough to knock him around a bit, even punching him to the moon at one point. This fight in itself sums up Saitama's character arc and aspirations perfectly. We get a tiny glimpse of Saitama actually enjoying himself in an even fight. Well, not even. Saitama could have ended that fight whenever he wanted, but that's the whole point. Season 2 is where we get more time to see the other characters, which means there's more time for actual lore to be developed without Saitama just one-shotting everything and anything. I'd even go so far as to say that Goro is the main character of season 2, kinda like an Infinity War situation. His backstory is also touched upon more than any other characters, except maybe Genos. Goro's connections with top heroes such as Silverfang make his interactions with other characters so much more interesting. His aspirations are similar to those of Saitama, but his character and motives are so different. They contrast each other perfectly, and despite being a normal human with 0 superpowers, he's able to rival Genos in a fight. The fact that season 2 ended with Goro still alive shows how the plot has evolved over time, with overhanging threats the likes of which had never been seen in the show before. It is blossoming into something indisputably amazing, and I anticipate the day that I can give it a score higher than this one. Looking at the characters in One Punch Man, I'd say they are definitely deserving of a 9 out of 10. The characters in this universe each have their own powers, their own style of fighting, and the villains usually have extremely unique designs as well. Besides Saitama, Genos, and Tatsumaki, most of the other heroes only appear occasionally, but they're still also memorable, especially characters such as Moomin Rider. Jokes aside, Moomin Rider is weak. Like, really weak. He's self-aware about his lack of power, so he just intentionally stays in the lowest hero class, rank C. He also does this because heroes in rank C are required to take at least 1 hero job a week, lest they risk losing their job. And Moomin Rider is just a guy who strives to help others. He is loved by fans of the show, as well as the citizens of the One Punch Man universe, because of his pure drive and resilience to protect the people. Saitama even held him in such high respect that he permanently damaged his own reputation as a hero to respect Moomin Rider's pure hero spirit. And then there's characters like King, the only character in the whole show I can bring myself to dislike. While I do sympathize with him, I find him so incredibly annoying. He kind of reminds me of Buggy from One Piece. He's incredibly lucky, and because of this, he's been put in an amazing position of power. He's respected as the pinnacle of strength amongst those who don't have superpowers, and he looks the part as well. But in reality, he's just a nerd trying to get from one day to the next. He's simply too scared to... My microphone just fell over. He's simply too scared to stand up for himself regarding the position that the Hero Association put him in, but honestly, he has no place in S rank or any rank for that matter. I like him as Saitama's friend, but his fake reputation annoys me to no end. Despite this, King is still an interesting character. For a webcomic that started out as just a meme with bad art, it really has a way of developing its characters into actual unique people. There are so many other interesting characters like Suiryu, Fubuki, Silverfang, and especially Genos. However, none of these great characters are quite great enough to be nominated for the Best Character Award. I know giving it to the main character probably seems like a massive cop-out, but it clearly has to go to Saitama. Saitama's story is very interesting to me. Similarly to a lot of shonen protagonists, Luffy, Asta, Jonathan, Deku, Yuji, Tanjiro, Tatsumi, Takemichi, Emma, Saitama's future was changed by one fateful encounter. While he was looking for jobs in his regular, non-bored state, he rescued a child from a powerful monster with his massive brain. He realized that this is what he wanted to do for a living, so he trained himself relentlessly for 3 years. But unlike the majority of shonen protagonists, he ended up being unsatisfied with the results. Not because he was still too weak, but because he just became too strong for his own good. Gaining the strength to effortlessly end any fight in one punch, he didn't get the same thrill from hero work anymore, and ultimately just became depressed. The fact that Saitama only ended up in C class after the hero exam due to his subpar score on the written section just shows how little effort Saitama puts into the job. But it's not because he doesn't want to, there's literally no point in doing so. Besides opponents such as Boros and that one Mosquito, every fight has ended in the blink of an eye. Besides his superhuman power, he's also quite a relatable character, especially for younger audiences. He relies on humor a lot in conversation, his face and voice are deadpan most of the time, he sticks with a small group of friends, he's a gamer, and he's a pretty introverted guy. Just like Moomin Rider, he's simply a guy who wants to help out, but as he's mentioned before, he doesn't do it for the sake of the people or to get a good reputation. He does it because he wants to. He doesn't care what the public think of him, and is even rude to the members of the public sometimes. Only when they deserve it, of course. But although he seems to be quite self-serving, Saitama's just an all-round amazing guy. His superhuman strength is just a bonus. As for the openings, I simply can't bring myself to give them any lower than a 9, or I'd just be lying to myself. Both openings 1 and 2 capture the epic high-energy atmosphere that the show itself creates around us. The visuals in opening 1 are absolutely stunning, and the visuals in opening 2 are great for the most part, although interesting at times. Anyway, while opening 2 is lacking in the animation department, I think the song is better than the first. I don't know why, but listening to the second opening just makes me so euphoric. The scream at the end genuinely makes me feel like I could fight God. But despite the song in opening 2 being way better, the visuals in opening 1 are way, way better. So as much as it pains me, the best opening has to be the first. When I first heard this opening before watching the show, it just seemed incredibly generic to me. The song was uninteresting, and while they were amazing, the visuals just looked plain. Then I watched the actual show, and by the end of the season, the opening had grown on me monumentally. Most of the opening simply consists of Saitama defeating monsters in a single punch, which is obviously symbolic of the repetitive cycle that is his hero career. It still looks cool to us, but of course it does, it's animated by Madhouse. Since the anime is quite a simple one in terms of lore, there really aren't many hidden spoilers in the opening like the ones I enjoy looking for so dearly in JoJo and Black Clover. However, the openings are so incredibly fast-paced and high energy that I don't think I'd be able to point anything out in the first place, but that makes sense. OnePunch Man is an anime to be taken at face value. It has awesome fight scenes and cool characters, and understanding the lore isn't that important as long as you're enjoying it. This opening encapsulates that perfectly. It's just pure, powerful music and perfect animation, no spoilers, no complications, just fighting. That's the beauty of this anime and the beauty of this opening. Now, I suppose it's time for the animation score, and I'm giving OnePunch Man an 8 out of 10, which may seem a bit high, but hear me out. Now, I'll be honest, while I can look past the animation most of the time, the drop in quality during Season 2 put me off watching it for a whole 3 months. Considering all the additional differences to Season 1, like the addition of deep plot, it felt like an entirely different show. The fight scenes felt disappointing, although they were well thought out. My biggest letdown in terms of animation is what they did to Genos. In Season 1, he looks absolutely beautiful. Look at this man. Now look at him. I'm convinced their entire budget went into coloring Genos' arms, and it doesn't even look good. They tried to make it look too realistic, and I'll give it to them, they kind of pulled it off. It just does not fit with the aesthetic of the rest of the show in the slightest. It's quite frankly absolutely hideous. But of course, it's not like the animation is always that bad, especially in the final 2 episodes of Season 2. The fight between Garo, Genos, Silverfang, and Bomb was absolutely stunning. and the immaculate integration of CGI used to animate Sin tutorial looked beautiful. But of course, most of the points in this category come from Season 1 and its near perfect animation. There wasn't a moment where the art and animation weren't at least average during Season 1, and most of the time, it was changing the meaning of good animation through its heavenly, although short, fight scenes. The episode where Saitama trains Genos is one of my favorite in all of anime, and don't even get me started on Saitama vs Boros. This fight scene is just 10 minutes of pure enjoyment, and since Boros was Saitama's only opponent to survive his basic punches, they really had time to go all out. I'm convinced that no other anime fight scene will ever be as well animated as this one. I hope that in Season 3, there's another enemy as powerful as Boros who can give us another long fight scene. One Punch Man has shown time and time again that it is extremely deserving of this score. Now, we come to the final part of our ranking, the enjoyability of One Punch Man. And if you expected me to give it any less than a 10 out of 10, then I don't know what you were thinking. I watched all of the first season on one fateful January the 1st, and realizing that it's been nearly a year makes me feel so incredibly old, despite being not. Rewatching anime is normally very hard for me, as I find it a little boring knowing what's going to happen already. However, One Punch Man is one of two exceptions to this rule. Since I watched all of Season 1 in a single day, there was so much I had forgotten about it. It was like watching a new show for the first time, and somehow feeling incredibly nostalgic at the same time. One Punch Man is also objectively the funniest anime I've ever watched. One of the things that made Season 2 bearable was the humor. It manages to keep its same childish charm throughout, while also having some mature character-defining moments. The show can feel a little repetitive at times, but that's literally the entire point. Saitama just wants to find someone as strong as him. There was a bonus chapter in the manga a while ago that summed this up perfectly. Saitama was put into a fighting simulation against himself from one day prior. The real Saitama instantly one-punched and killed his past self. His power increases that much in a single day, so it's getting harder and harder for him to find the right opponent, but that means that when he does, it will be all the more satisfying. Most every episode has a cool fight scene, and there's never a shortage of jokes, although the graceful animation might leave you with a shortage of words. For a comic made as a joke to turn into a worldwide phenomenon such as this, One Punch Man is incredibly special, and it's fully deserving of this 10 out of 10 score. Now that our review has come to an end, One Punch Man has earned itself a huge 43 out of 50, managing to score just 1 point ahead of Dr. Stone. Honestly, I'm thinking this list needs more variety, since all the shows in this list are battle anime so far, and also all in A tier. So if you've got any recommendations, put them in the comments, and I'll try and watch and rank as many as I can. Hopefully by next week, I'll have completed what will definitely be my longest review yet. So if you'd like to see that, then please subscribe. If you enjoyed this video enough to stay until the end, you'll probably like my other ones too. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all next time.